Okay, what is this? This is a thing on Twitter. We can show that, right? You can't get in trouble for showing a thing from Twitter.
Jeez, this is so slow, the surface here. I cannot play, I cannot play aggressive, I cannot play serve and volley, I cannot do anything, the Spaniards and all these clay quarters they have. It's too easy, it's only for them, this tournament, so.
Come on, it's like 20 years old. You can't get in trouble for stuff that's 20 years old. Welcome to the Coffee Break Tennis Podcast. We're back with another podcast. No video, but plenty of things to show throughout the show. And hopefully I won't get in trouble for any of it and have this video banned from the internet. Today on Coffee Break Tennis, the podcast, we look at the draw. We talk about the shape of this year's Miami Open, the 2019 Miami Open, as we head into a very exciting round of 16 Tuesday. All the round of 16 men's matches will be played today, unless there's a rain disaster. We'll talk about the new stadium, just a few initial thoughts. By the way, comment below if you are interested in a video I'm thinking about doing Thursday, where I'm going to go to Key Biscayne and try to just see what's still there, see what remains from the old tournament, and talk about the new versus the old and what I think of it. After all, I've gone to the old tournament at least 10 years I went, and I think this is my 11th or 12th year attending at the new stadium. This is obviously the first. We'll talk about, I saw Stefanos Tsitsipas for the first time in person last night. Talk about a couple takeaways from that match, and of course let's just walk you through today's schedule and talk about what I'm going to go see. Oh, and of course we're gonna preview the Federer match for tonight. That's the big match tonight. It'll start no earlier than 9 p.m. tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes later, but you never know how these things will play out. Anyways, first let's just before we get into the Federer stuff for tonight, I want to talk about yesterday's Krajinovic match and the Medvedev match first today. But before that, let me just talk about the new stadium just a little bit. It's definitely it's a lot different. Let me get instant coffee in the hotel. The new stadium is weird because outside is not too different. They did a good job. Everything looks pretty cool. The tennis campus, they call it. But when you go inside the main stadium, it's kind of weird because they've shut down so much of it. So, it's a football stadium, and they built a smaller stadium within a stadium, and I'll flash some pictures on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. And they put in a smaller stadium that holds, I believe, 16,000 inside a stadium that holds like 63,000, some crazy number like that. And they've shut down so many sections of it that it's like you're in a ghost town in some parts. So it's very odd. There's kind of it's really hard to hear anything when you're, I was telling my mother as we went up the escalator that, of course, the worst seat I bought for the week, the one that's the furthest away, was a Monday Federer match. Luckily, he won, and we have better seats tonight to see Federer play from behind the baseline, much closer in the actual built part of the stadium they built inside the stadium. But yesterday, during the Federer match with Krajinovic, we were watching from way up above in the actual football stadium seating. There's one section, the cheapest seats they have, where you're actually sitting in the football stadium, and then the rest you're sitting on scaffolding. They built a stadium, and it sounds like it's gonna break everywhere you go. It sounds like the thing's gonna fall apart every time someone takes a step. You hear these loud banging noises. Everything shakes. It's a little scary, but I'm sure it's structurally sound. Hopefully there won't be a disaster. Anyways, so just a quick clip from this is the grandstand, but they built it up, and they had stuff like this in Key Biscayne as well. But I don't remember it being so noisy. Maybe I'm not remembering well, but take a look at this clip of Leonardo Mayer Weiner right here. What was that? You hear that? You gotta listen real carefully. That's just somebody stepping. It's just a footstep. And Leonardo takes a look over, like, make sure that's not a gunshot, was it? Right? Are we okay? Okay, I'm gonna hit my serve. Anyway, so a lot of that going on. But let's get into the Federer stuff. So one thing I liked about the seating that I had from so far away and from the side of the court. Usually, I always try to buy tickets when I go to tennis events behind the baseline, so you get the TV view. You get a kind of feel for how it plays as a tennis player. You can watch from behind the baseline and see the ball coming, and it's easier to kind of see how it's bouncing, how fast it's moving, get a feel for what it'd be like if you were actually out there playing that ball that's coming towards whoever's on your side where you're sitting behind the baseline. So I took this picture from the side, though, and I just wanted to show you that Federer's doing a good job fighting off this very slow court, as he pointed out. And that was a long time ago, but obviously that applies today because this court's very slow. And Federer's doing a good job fighting that by, as always, is playing the baseline very tight. So take a look at this backhand. This was, I believe he was down 2-1, down a break early in the first set. And this was a backhand that got him a very short forehand that he jumped on and put away to break back on break point. But he was playing the baseline real tight. And you can see right here, he's really stepped into the court to hit this backhand. And I thought he was playing I thought Roger was playing the backhand pretty well in this match. I thought everything was good. Obviously, he was serving very well. I think we're going to look at the stats in a moment, but I think he had 14 aces. And he almost hit 4 aces in a row to finish the match when he served it out. That was pretty amazing.
15 out. 13 out. 14 out.
You could really hear the excitement in the crowd, despite that more than half is empty around the stadium within a stadium. So it's very weird sounding. It just sounds like I don't know what else to say. It's not like the way it was at Key Biscayne, which I probably like better. I like that experience better for the stadium court. But I mean, it is cool. It is cool. There's nothing like this where we're at, and the roof is kind of interesting. It kind of feels like an indoor court, so maybe credit Federer there. And it's blue and it plays like clay. So I enjoy seeing all these long rallies, really getting to see Federer work a point. And like you see in this tweet I put out there, Federer is working these points, but he's always keeping pressure on by playing so tight to the baseline. So that's a good sign for the Fed fans. Let's take a look at some of these stats. 35 winners on 23 unforced errors. Got it done, especially when Krajinovic had 15 winners on 18 unforced. Federer more errors on the forehand than the backhand, really going after the forehand. But, he was going after the backhand, 8 winners on the backhand. 13 and 13 there, 14 aces. That's so he would have been -2 here, but that's more typical of a slow court. The Federer not as good at the net. These are some lower net numbers, 13 out of 22 net points won that I've seen from Federer in a while. I can't recall seeing numbers lower like that. But got to point out, it's really nice to have that ability to go into the net and make things happen. And they kind of saved Federer a few times. So there's some. It's a slow court, so it's very valuable to be able to finish. And Federer has lots of ways to finish. I get that same vibe from watching Tsitsipas. Another thing, Federer was returning well against Medvedev. This is going to be a tougher serve to deal with tonight. So will he get 80% of the serves back? And, that looks like clay numbers. 71% of the Federer serves coming back into play from Krajinovic. 80% Federer sends back into play. Will Federer get as high of a number against Medvedev? It's not the greatest serve in the world, but he's got a pretty good serve, Danny Medvedev. Just taking a look at the points won by number of shots. Federer dominating the under 5, 53-35. Let's flip it around. Not as good in the longer points, although better. 5-9, he's not as good, but in the over 9, the very longest points, then all of a sudden, why is that? Can you comment below if anyone can explain that? Why is he so much worse than the 5-9, but the over 9? All of a sudden, Federer finds a way to win twice as many almost. And then finally, some of these numbers, Federer did a great job winning behind the first serve, and even did pretty good on the second serve, 56. When you get close to 60% win on second, that's a great number. And lots of break point opportunities, but he got 3, and 3 got it done. But going into Danny Medvedev tonight, let's take a look at something Federer said. So these are some of the guys that I'm really interested in seeing today. And supposedly there's something with Sasha Zverev and Federer. I don't know what's going on. I don't care too much. We'll find out when it becomes important enough for us to figure out what's really happening. And in this article from the tennis365.com, they're speculating that maybe Federer made a slight to Sasha by mentioning some next-gen stars to watch out for, but not naming him. And then you can also interpret that as maybe Federer says, we already know about Zverev. Let me tell you about some guys you might not have heard about. So first he says Tsitsipas, impressed me by beating me at the Australian Open, says Federer. I thought Tsitsipas was pretty impressive watching him against Leonardo Oscar Mayer Weiner. And he calls out Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's going to be playing very soon. So we need to wrap this up so I can get over there and see Felix, because I've never seen him in person either. I'd love to see him play, especially on a smaller court. It's so cool to get that close up on the grandstand. You get a better seat easier. Felix came to Dubai to train with me. Federers talks about that. He's doing quite well. Seeing the next take this step is phenomenal. Then he talks about Medvedev, who he has to play. He says, I play him in the next round. I played him twice last year in a tough match, Shanghai, one where he's very tired. And you know what? That's the key here. So he's saying he doesn't count that because he beat a very tired Medvedev in Basel. He might be very tired after going 3 tiebreakers. Although I think he 7-0'd him. I saw the end of that match, and I think it was 7-0 in the tiebreaker. I just remember Riley Opelka missing this little short ball that he could have kind of hit a little drop shot on. And it's really easy to hit a drop shot when you're standing next to the net. You're 3 feet away from the net. And Opelka tries to hit like a 2-hand drop, which I don't advise for anybody, and failed. It was, it must have been very frustrating for him. So maybe those 3 tiebreakers, maybe Medvedev will be tired again tonight. Of course, they'll have plenty of time to relax today because they're not going to get on court until at the very earliest 9 p.m. He also talks about El Shapo, who will play Tsitsipas, and there's a chance, you never know how the matches play out with the schedule, but Federer could be playing at the same time as Tsitsipas and grandstand, so that's a real dilemma for myself and anyone who's there at the tournament, which obviously we'll go see Federer play, but hopefully those matches don't happen at the same exact time and can see both. Anyways, so those are the guys that I'm interested in watching here, and those are the guys that Federer talked about are some next-geners to watch out for. So my thoughts on that match tonight, hopefully for the Fed heads, Medvedev is a little tired, but I think it's going to be a real battle. And I go to this article from Herr Peter Bodo at the ESPN. So let's go to ESPN.com. This is from February 25, the 25th. I can't remember my numbers today. Anyways, he says, why it's time to start paying attention to Danny Medvedev. And I think right after this article came out, Medvedev had like an early loss somewhere, like a bad loss, maybe Dubai. I don't remember. I just remember I thought, you know what, I'm going to save this, even though this doesn't look good right now. It's funny in tennis media coverage when you make a video like me or you make an article about a player and then they have like a bad loss, it kind of, you feel like it hurts your credibility a little. It's kind of embarrassing. So I felt for Herr Bodo when this came out. But anyways, he talks about not just the serve, which is pretty big, not just the movement, which is really good for a guy who's 6'6", Herr Bodo points out at the beginning of the article. But he says it's not the pair of ground strokes, the tight, airtight, which makes me think of consistency. So is he talking about consistency there? He definitely is in the next sentence. The quality that has lifted Medvedev to a career high number 15 in the rankings is his consistency. I have an all-around game, said the bullshit Russian Tsitsipas said last year when they played in Miami. Medvedev, 23 years old, told reporters when he won the ATP 500 in Tokyo last fall, I don't have weak spots that you can attack and definitely beat me. Sometimes the guy doesn't know what to do against me to win. And on this slow court, that's going to come in pretty handy tonight for Danny Medvedev against Roger Federer, being so airtight, being so consistent. I thought Krajinovic was pretty consistent, but as you saw on the very longest points, Federer was always able to find a way to win, and Federer was able to disrupt things. Krajinovic looked very frustrated, even from far away. I could see on the Jumbotron at least. Krajinovic just looked out of sorts after he blew his break lead early in the first set. He looked pretty uncomfortable, pretty unhappy. I even heard it's funny being at these tournaments, you get to hear people sitting around you talking. There was a lady behind me who kept saying, look how red his eyes are. And then her lady friend said, I think he was crying. I think he was crying on the changeover because he knows that he won't be able to win this match now, and Federer's going to run away with it. So maybe Krajinovic, maybe Krajinovic was crying. Anyways, Medvedev is going to be even tighter and able to play more consistently. So Federer will have to really attack. And on a slower court, it's harder to do, but Federer is finding ways to do it. I think this could be another very difficult match for Roger Federer. course, I still like him to win. I even give him a shot at somehow winning this tournament, but he's going to have to get through Medvedev, and Medvedev, who has his consistency and his weapons, he's the total package, will be a good test to see if Federer can overcome this. It is possible that maybe he could beat a Djokovic here, but we saw what happened with Djokovic at Cincinnati, where it was humid and slower than usual, and it's even more humid and even more slow here. But it is blue, it is clay, and who is the king of blue clay? Of course, that's Roger Federer. Let's move on. Take a look at the schedule. Did we talk about all the things I wanted to talk about? I'll say one thing about Tsitsipas match. It's just fun to watch somebody who's attacking and young, because I'm there and I see Federer leave and Venus comes up and there's no one there. And last night for Yulia Putintseva of Kazakhstan, most famous for Borat, now famous for Yulia Putintseva, but maybe not. It's famous because she's kind of crazy. She gave the middle finger to all the fans in Australia. Last night, there's no one there watching. Now I know it's late and I wasn't there because I got to wake up and make a podcast and get back there for all-day tennis. Just a note, if you've never been to one of these things, if you go early enough to catch matches all day and be at a tennis tournament for like 12, 13 hours, it's pretty exhausting, especially when you're in that hot sun. But I would have liked to see Putintseva, but I watched it on TV at home or at the hotel, and there's no one there. There's no one there, and I wonder to myself when I'm there, what's going to happen when Federer retires? We always wonder this as tennis fans, but when you're actually there at a tournament, you really wonder when you're sitting in an empty stadium, especially one where there's 63,000 seats around you that are all empty. Now that ghost town effect, there's the ghost town effect here at the new stadium because they've shut down 70% of it. You just kind of wonder, and when you see Tsitsipas, you feel some relief, and hopefully I'll get that feeling when I go see Felix in like an hour. I'll be there watching Felix Auger. Anyway, so watching Tsitsipas, it was really cool to see someone who's young and energetic and attacking, playing this Federer-like attacking style, having the option of going to the net, playing the baseline tight, moving in. I even saw Tsitsipas make a couple of those Federer-like backhand block returns where it just looks like you're volleying the return from tight on the baseline. And that excites me because if he really masters that return, it's going to be so hard to beat Tsitsipas when he can get your best first serves in play. And we know that stat from Craig O'Shaughnessy that I like so much, where the big three, when they get the return in play, they win the point half the time on the first serve. Pretty amazing. So let's take a look at the draw and the schedule, and then we'll get out of here. Comment below what you think about how things are shaping up. Comment below what you think if you're here. It's funny, shout out to Zach at @halftoros, Toros, like the Pokemon, on Twitters. Zach was here hoping to meet me, and right when I was leaving, because I wanted to see Venus, because I know she's going to retire soon, probably, we think. Not we hope, we think. She has to, she's almost 40. So I wanted to get a chance to see her, and I didn't get to get out of the stadium in time to go meet Zach before he had to leave. Anyway, so shout out to Zach. Sorry I didn't get a chance to meet you. That would have been super cool. And they had a mini tennis court set up that they took down. Zach challenged me. I was going to give him the spanking of a lifetime because I'm really good with the mini tennis. If I don't have to run all over the place, I can really I can do a lot of damage. So I regret not getting to. He said if I lost, he would get to own Mr. Goat. Winner gets to keep Mr. Goat. I never agreed to those terms, Zach, but I would have won, so it doesn't matter. I would have beat Mr. Slice too, but sadly he had to leave town. Mr. Slice is already gone. There's no one here to hit with. If you're here in Miami and you're a good tennis player, especially if you're really good and you might beat me, comment below. Send me a message on Twitter at CoffeeBreak10s, TENS is my thing. Send me a private message. I check those occasionally. There's a bunch of them in there, so I don't check them all the time. It gets overwhelming. But send me a message if you're around here. Maybe on Thursday, my day off, where I'm just going to focus on making a great video and not go to the tournament. Maybe we can hit the courts and I can get a workout after all, because I was really counting on Mr. Slice and he let me down. He's out of town. Anyways, all right, so let's take a look at the draw and talk about, who could win here? Who could win here? So obviously Djokovic is a great clay player, but today, fairly soon, he's going to play Roberto Bautista Agut. I've been saying the name wrong. It actually is like Agut or Agut, something like that. Anyways, hard T. That was one of the few people to beat Djokovic this year, so that'll be interesting. And on a slow court, Bautista Agut has a chance. Kyle Edmund and John Isner. A lot of people are saying Kyle Edmund, it's his time. I like John Isner to find a way to not lose all of his points from winning this tournament last year. I see Djokovic and Isner there. That was originally when I put in the draw when I saw Isner winning against Djokovic. Because Djokovic doesn't look very comfortable here either. But, credit to him, he had to... I read somewhere that Djokovic was threatening not to play if they didn't turn the lights on. Said it's too dark in there. Anyways, so Djokovic had to play a couple weird ones, like Delbonis. He's got the highest ball. Take a look at this ball toss. I tweeted this. This thing is insane. I hate his ball toss. It makes me sick. It's overwhelming. Stresses me out. Anyways, Djokovic, that's got to be hard for the guy who's such a great returner to time that. And then, and he had to play Bernie Tomic, which you never know what's going to happen with him. Is he trying? Does he care? That's distracting. Tonight, you'll get to see, or today, whenever, Djokovic and Bautista Agut, who's a straight shooter. So I like Djokovic through there. Isner has a chance to beat Djokovic on the slow, high-bouncing court. Felix, I like coming through with Bash. They're going to be playing in just moments. Bornachork hasn't been looking his best to me. Had a longer match than Kyrgios. Came through 6-3, 6-1 over Duzi Bojlajevic. I like Kyrgios through there. Who can win, though? And maybe not Kyrgios. That could be tough. Depends what Bornachork is able to do. I really think we could see a Kyrgios Joker semi. I also really think we could see a Felix. And how good would that be for the sport? But, it's tough to call here. I guess you have to go with Djokovic coming through this half of the draw. Felix, who is pretty good on the slow court, is very athletic and has the power to hit through, has a little bit of variety as well. Maybe has a chance. Bashvili, he can bash his way through anything. That's really a non-pick from me. Let's take a look at the bottom half, though. Kevin Anderson. He's going to have to play Roger Federer or Medvedev. Of course, he'll have to beat Mr. Thompson, who got through as a lucky loser, I think, and was able to beat Grigor Dimitrov, who's really been struggling a lot lately. I think he's coming off a shoulder injury. He wasn't even able to serve for a while. So take what you will from that victory. Kevin Anderson, he's gone through some injuries, so who knows what will happen there. Kevin Anderson's already had to run around quite a bit. I think they had to look at his knee earlier in the week. So we'll see what goes on with there. I don't know who to pick there. I don't know much about Thompson. And I don't know how Kevin Anderson is really feeling. And I didn't go watch his match because there's more exciting things going on. I like Roger if he can find a way with Medvedev, who's going to be tough to come through there. And down here, Tsitsipas and Shapo. Tough call. Shapo, man, I was watching him play Mr. Rubles. And, God, he's got a lot of firepower and a lot of flair. He could be so good. And I just think Tsitsipas is overall more solid right now, so I like Tsitsipas to come through. The Gofinator will have to play Francis Tiafoe. Tiafoe looked very frustrated with Ferrer. I got to watch a lot of Ferrer match last night before I left to go see Tsitsipas. Tiafoe, I got to credit him. He was having a hard time hitting through Ferrer. He'll have a hard time hitting through David Goffin. He hit a lot of drop shots, a lot of short stuff, and a lot of stuff Ferrer couldn't get to. Maybe Goffin have a little more pep in the step, obviously a lot younger. So maybe he'll be able to track that stuff down. So, tough pick there, but I'd have to go with David Goffin, who already beat a good clay court player in Cecchinato. So coming through there, I like Tsitsipas. This is an opportunity for David Goffin, who hasn't had much success since he hit himself in the eye. What was that, like a year ago? Coming through here, I always like Federer. I also like Medvedev if he can get through Federer. I don't know what Kevin Anderson is capable at this stage. It looks like we have a good shot at seeing Mr. Djokovic, Mr. Federer, though. Or something like a Felix or Tsitsipas getting through to a final, too, is not impossible at all. All right, so today on the schedule, what would you do if you were me? Comment below. Obviously, we got to get over there and see Felix. We got to wrap this up and get there fast. Maybe sit around there after it's over and see Kyrgios. But what could be happening by the time that's going at like 2 p.m.? Shea Sway, would love to see her play. Very interesting player to watch. Maybe be still watching Kyrgios instead, though. The Joker, obviously we got to go see that. So we got to get over to the Joker. What else we got? Tsitsipas on the grandstand, not before 7. But what's on the grandstand? You know, by the time Felix and Bash get through, and Kyrgios and Coric, I think they make it to 3 at least. Because then not before 3 is going to be Kevin Anderson, Mr. Gopher, David Goffin. These matches could go pretty late. Let's predict. those matches average about 2 hours. We go to 4, then we go to 6, and then we go to 8. And by the time they get people off the court and on the court, very likely Steph doesn't get on till 8. And I actually see Federer being able to start at 9 tonight because Roberto Batista Agu, how long will Kyle Edmund-John doesn't really take? It could be a while. We'll say Svei Shea gets up there. Shea Sway at 2. That could be a long match too. You know, she can draw things out like she did with the Waz. I think there's a chance that we get Federer on at 9, and I think there's a chance that we get Tsitsipas and Shapo, which could be a really awesome match, that they don't get on until close to the line. So it could be a real, all right, hit the music, we're getting out of here. Could be a real trouble, real pick. Who do you go watch? Who am I kidding? We're gonna go see Roger Federer. What do you think, Mom? Go see Federer?
Go see Federer.
Okay, Mom likes to go see Federer. All right, thanks for watching the Coffee Break Tennis podcast. Hopefully I don't edit in too many clips from what I took on my iPhone yesterday and get this thing pulled off the internet. Let's take a sip at the nasty instant coffee that Mom made us buy at Starbucks. That's not so bad. It's decent. It's instant. See ya!